On April 20th, we went to Cal State San Bernardino where they were celebrating disability awareness. Instead of having a typical motivational speaker, they brought in American Idol finalist Scott MacIntyre, who gave students advice and talked about his life story. Scott MacIntyre was on American Idol on season 8 as the first blind man to ever be on the show. His talent was amazed throughout the show and country when they learned that not only can he sing, but he can also play the piano. He talked about living his dream and how he gained much confidence in himself and that anything is possible even if you have a disability problem. But he didn't do it all on his own. He talked about his family and friends being by his side.
Since that time, they've done everything they possibly can to encourage that and to be behind me. 100%. I know that's not always the case by any means with families, and so I'm very thankful, and I'll never take that for granted.
And now, all schools around the world are trying to help as much as they can for the disabled.
How was the Disabled Student Program started?
That's a good question. I can tell you why it was started. How it was started is a little bit more difficult to answer. We have the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, specifically Section 504, which you might have heard of before. Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act essentially says that a college that receives, any institution that receives federal funds must make all its programs, activities, and services accessible to individuals with disabilities. And they can't discriminate, aren't the exact words, but it has to do with not discriminating. And the other piece of law that was enacted, I believe, a little bit later, like maybe 1977, 1979, is called the Lanterman Act. And we refer to it as AB 77, but I doubt you'd be able to find AB 77 anywhere in the law right now. It's the Lanterman Act, and what it did, it provided specific funding, set-aside funding for community colleges to receive from the state, the Chancellor's office actually, in order to pay for services for students with disabilities, to provide the access and so forth.
The last question is, can anyone with dyscalculia or dyslexia come for help here?
Sure, they can, as long as they're an enrolled student. Okay, the number one criteria is that they have to be an enrolled student here at Mount San Antonio College, either taking non-credit or credit classes. And the other piece of criteria that's very, very important is that the student must provide professional documentation of a disability. So it has to be in writing, and professional documentation means it has to be from a person that is qualified in that field, qualified, for example, in learning disabilities, to be able to diagnose someone as having dyscalculia or dyslexia. And then they would attend here. We would provide the services that he or she needs in order to have an equal access to education and hopefully succeed in their classes.
Just like Scott, he never gave up on his dream, and there are people out there that want to help you live your dream from a view from above.
From above is hard to believe when you're driving uphill on a one-way street. It's a drag to keep moving.